You spend your whole life trying to become something, trying to matter, trying to be seen. And then one day, if you're lucky enough to reach the end having done what you set out to do, you leave behind two words that seem to contradict everything you fought for. Don't try. Charles Bukowski's gravestone sits in Los Angeles, etched with those words, a final riddle from a man who spent decades bleeding onto pages that no one wanted to read. A man who worked the graveyard shift at a post office, smelling like sweat and ink, writing before dawn because that was the only time the world would leave him alone. A man who didn't taste real success until he was 50 years old, long after most people have accepted what their life will be. Don't try. It sounds like giving up, like surrender. But maybe that's because we've confused trying with something else entirely. Bukowski was born into violence. His father's fist taught him about pain before he understood language. As an immigrant kid in America, he learned that being different meant being alone. Then his face erupted with acne so severe it left scars that would last his entire life. Scars on top of scars. The visible kind and the other kind. The kind that shapes how you see yourself when no one else is looking. In his 20s, Bukowski tried to be a writer. He wrote hundreds of short stories. Hundreds. And almost all of them were rejected. The few that got published disappeared without a trace, like stones thrown into an ocean. So he stopped. For 10 years, he didn't write at all. He worked, he drank, he survived. He convinced himself that maybe writing wasn't his favorite color after all. Then at 35, his body tried to kill him. A bleeding ulcer nearly succeeded where his father's fists and the world's indifference had failed. But he survived, and something in that survival changed the equation. He quit his job at the post office and started writing again. Not because he thought it would work this time, not because he had a plan, because the alternative, not writing, had become more painful than failing at it. A few years later, the money ran out. He went back to the post office. But this time was different. This time, he kept writing. Before his shifts, in the hours when the city was still dark, he wrote. Day after day, year after year, no audience, no validation, no guarantee that any of it mattered. Most people would call that trying really hard, but maybe Bukowski would disagree. Think about your favorite color. When you were a child and someone asked you, you didn't labor over the decision. You didn't weigh the pros and cons of blue versus red. You didn't try to have a favorite color. You just knew. The color chose you. In some inexplicable way. The neurons fired, the feeling arrived, and you claimed it as yours even though you had nothing to do with how it got there. We don't choose what moves us. We don't choose what haunts us at 3 a.m. We don't choose the things that feel like holes in our chest when we imagine never doing them. Bukowski didn't try to want to be a writer. He just was one, even when no one published him, even when it seemed pointless, even when he came home smelling like other people's mail and his hands cramped from sorting letters addressed to lives that weren't his. He wrote because not writing felt like suffocation. Because the words were already there, stuffed in his ears, under his fingernails, demanding to exist. In a letter to a friend, he wrote about writers who do it for the wrong reasons. The ones chasing fame or money or the romantic idea of being a writer. The ones who try to want it. He said when it works best, writing chooses you. It's when you're mad with it. When there's no hope but that. No hope but that. What a strange, perfect phrase. It sounds like desperation, but maybe it's actually clarity. Maybe it's the opposite of trying.
Maybe it's surrender to the one thing you can't escape, even if you wanted to.
We live in a world that tells us to try harder, to hustle, to manifest, to optimize ourselves into people who want the right things and feel the right ways. We try to be passionate. We try to find purpose. We workshop our desires like they're rough drafts. But you can't try to care about something. Either it keeps you awake at night or it doesn't. Either the thought of not doing it hurts more than the thought of failing at it, or it doesn't. Either it's your favorite color or you're just saying it is because you think you should.
Bukowski spent years being rejected. Years working a job that had nothing to do with who he knew he was. Years watching other writers succeed while his own words gathered dust in unopened envelopes from publishers. But he never tried to be someone else, never softened his voice, never wrote the kind of clean, acceptable stories that might have given him earlier success. He didn't try to try, he just did the thing that wouldn't leave him alone.
And maybe that's the paradox. He worked incredibly hard. He showed up every single day. He persisted through a level of rejection that would convince most people to quit. But it wasn't trying in the way we usually mean it. It wasn't force, it wasn't willpower pushing against resistance. It was more like breathing, like something his body demanded without needing permission from his brain. Don't try doesn't mean don't work. It doesn't mean don't persist. It means don't try to be something you're not. Don't try to want something you don't want. Don't force a version of yourself that requires constant effort to maintain. When you're doing the thing that chose you, it doesn't feel like trying. It feels like being alive, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when you're 50 years old and nothing has worked out the way you imagined and you're still showing up to the page because what else is there? Bukowski became famous eventually. His books sold, his readings filled rooms. He became the thing he always knew he was, just decades later than the world's timeline said he should. But the success wasn't the point. The success was just what happened when he stopped trying to be anything other than exactly who he was. We spend so much time trying to become, trying to transform, trying to optimize and improve and level up into people we're not. We try so hard that we forget to notice what's already there. What's been there all along, aching to kick out of the closed womb, looking right at us. Your favorite color doesn't require effort. It just is. And maybe the thing you're meant to do, the thing that might define your life if you let it, is the same way. Not a choice you make, but a choice that's already been made, written into whatever strange architecture makes you yourself. If you have to try to care, you probably don't. If you have to try to want it, you probably don't want it. But if it won't leave you alone, if it follows you through every failure and every moment of doubt, if the thought of never having tried terrifies you more than the thought of trying and failing, then maybe you already know what Bukowski meant. Don't try, just do it. And if you're going to do it, go all the way. Because anything less isn't trying, it's just pretending. Somewhere in Los Angeles, a gravestone holds two words. Not instructions, not advice. Just an observation from a man who spent his whole life writing because he couldn't do anything else. Who found success not by chasing it, but by doing the one thing he couldn't stop doing even when it made no sense to continue. Don't try, unless it's the thing you can't help but do. Then try everything. Give it everything. Not because you're forcing yourself to care, but because you already do. Because it already chose you. Because your favorite color doesn't need justification. It just needs to be seen. Charles Bukowski, writer, poet, man with scars who turned pain into something people still read decades after his death, who left behind work and wisdom and one final instruction that only makes sense if you understand what trying really means. Don't try to be something you're not. That the thing you are The thing that won't let you sleep. The thing that feels less like ambition and more like inevitability.